Good evening, voice check. Hello, good evening, voice check. Can you hear me?
Yes, Abhishek. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Okay, we're just going to check on our connectivity with YouTube and we'll get started. All right, so welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome for the first time to those who are logging in for the very first time for our leadership webinars. Only for you, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Yukti Kapoor Mehndiratta. I'm a leadership and etiquette coach, and I run a company called SBY Academy that offers leadership coaching and online courses. Here we are talking about another aspect of leadership today, and it always is a great time on a Saturday to sit back and brush up a bit on our own learning, unlearn a few things and relearn a few things. So I really love this Saturday 5 o'clock time when you haven't yet geared up for a party and you're also not lazy enough to not be okay to learn. So thank you so much for joining into this discussion. As always, we will make this as a discussion. I would encourage you to share your experiences and real challenges with communication. And when we talk about communication, it's not the same, just as how many other things are not the same post-COVID. I don't even know if you can call this as post-COVID because we're still dealing with the enemy, but there are a lot of things which have changed in the business scenario, in the way we lead people, in the way people want to be led. And if there is one thing that tops the list of all these changes that are put together and called is now a new normal, what tops the list is communication. The way we have always communicated and learned to communicate with people has always been a one-on-one interaction, a physical presence amongst a group of people. And now we are unlearning those ways and relearning how to connect virtually. So things are not the same, and virtual interaction is very different, as I'm sure you've realized by now. So all these Zoom meetings and the webinars were a one-off that we were looking at earlier, and now this is the way of life. This is what we have to adjust to if we haven't yet. In this scenario, the way we communicate with people is also very different. While earlier the focus was a lot on content, making sure that you know what you're talking about, now that is a given. What becomes important now is to go beyond the content and connect with people. So how do we connect with people in a virtual space when we can't see anybody, we can't hear anybody? I am talking to you all, I'm hoping you're glued on, and I'm sure you are, but I can't read any body language. I can't shake hands with you. I can't do a lot of things that were considered to be very, very important part of communication. So as a leadership and etiquette coach, I have spent a lot of my workshop time getting people's handshakes right. And now we are living in these times when we can't even touch each other. We have to maintain so much distance that handshake is like probably something that will soon be forgotten and will not be a normal way to greet. So what is the new normal? And how ready are we to embrace the new normal? How well are we really communicating the way we need to communicate in today's scenario? That will be the focus of our discussion today. So let me just roll out a poll quickly to understand my audience. A very simple question. Are you a business owner or corporate executive? Means you're working with an enterprise, you're an entrepreneur, freelancer, homemaker, currently on a break, maybe you've lost your job or you're in between two jobs or considering a plunge into something and hence taking a break for whatever reason you're on break or any other. You see that on your screen very quickly. If you could please answer the poll so I understand you a little better. And the second question of this poll is, do you lead a team directly? Do you have direct reportees? That's either a yes or a no. Okay, another 5 seconds and I will end the poll. All right, let's see what we have here. So 52% of us in the room right now are working with corporates. 20% is any other category. I would like to know if you can share in the chat box. We also have entrepreneurs, business owners, and freelancers. Fantastic. And in terms of leading the teams, 80% of us are leading teams directly. That's fantastic. And to those 20% who are not, I would want you to consider this session as extremely critical to know how can you deal with your stakeholders virtually. So you always have to communicate with someone or the other. So even if you don't have a direct team, who are the stakeholders that you need to connect with? What should your new communication look like? Is probably a goal statement you can create for yourself from this session for the next 1 hour. So, all right, I hope you've grabbed a piece of paper and a pen, and you know what I'm going to ask you to do. Even if you've done this before with me, it's important that you do this again in this moment. And trust me, whenever we do this, we are even more ready to unlearn and relearn. Alvin Toffler's quotation says that the illiterate of 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot unlearn, relearn. And it is so true. It is more true than ever in the times that we're living in. So let me encourage you to quickly put down those 3 numbers which come in our way when we are trying to learn. I call this as a baggage of success because these are the numbers that we are really proud of. We've worked very hard on, and yet they tell us that we already know enough when we don't. No one does. In fact, the more you know, the more you realize how much more there is to know. So let us write down these 3 numbers. The first number is your age. The second number is your salary. And the third number, or your turnover if you have your own business. And the third number is your total years of experience. So if you're someone like me who's plunged into entrepreneurship from a corporate experience, you will put your entire years of experience or corporate experience, for me, say a decade, to now a decade of entrepreneurship, so 20 years for me. What is that number for you? I would want you to put that down. And once you're done, say done in the chat room. Let's warm up the chat room. That's where we will get to know what's happening with each other. I want some real action there. As I always say, the only way to participate, the only way to communicate in the virtual space is to really jump in, share comments, share your learnings, be active. Even if it's about writing a word, make sure you do it. It'll keep you going with the session. So let us see who all are active and kicking right now. Naveen, Sonali, Puneet, fantastic, Parag, done. Great. So now if you're done with this, you know what's the next thing to do? We fold this into a teeny, mini, tiny chit and put it behind us. Like physically, I want you to turn your body and put this chit behind you so that the space between you and me is cleared up. Now, we don't have any baggage of success. We know nothing. We're going to jump into this session with the curiosity of a child. Sounds good? If it sounds good, just say sounds good, which also means that you've done this. You've folded this into a chit and you put this behind you. Sounds good? SG, let's write SG, okay? Millennials talk like this these days, all acronyms and abbreviations. SG, fantastic. Sounds good. Great, sounds good to me too. So give me a moment and let us dive straight into our mind map. Please let me know if you can see the mind map. Can you see the mind map? Just give me a yes in the chat box, please. Yes, fantastic. Thank you. All right. So before I get into these 5 hacks, which I think are extremely critical for us to not just communicate, but connect with people, I want to hear from you on what do you understand of communication, and especially communication in today's time. What is your understanding of communication? How different do you think it is? Is there any difference at all? Let us clear the space so I make room for your thoughts to be shared on the chat box. You can also unmute and share if that's more comfortable. But I would love to know what is your understanding of communication? Do you think it is changing? And if yes, then how? Is it the same as how we used to communicate earlier? Are you feeling any difference? Yes.
Hi, Yukti.
Hi, Amit.
Hi. See, what I have recently observed, I was basically handling some interns. and the communication is changed a lot because we can't understand what they might perceive of what we are saying. It's totally different because we can't actually gauge you know how the person will react. So it is very difficult and very difficult on one hand. The other point is, since we can't understand, we have to be very flat in terms of emotions, because if we are too good, it is taken wrongly. If you are too bad, it is again taken wrongly. So we have to make a very gentle balance of that. That is what I have understood as of now in the last, say, 15-20 days.
Interesting. That's a very interesting point you make, Amit. So there is a bit of a balance that you need to maintain between the extreme ends of emotions, is what I hear.
Point is, what I'm saying is that you don't need to be emotional, because if you try to be emotional, you never know what the person in front of you might take. So you have to be flat right now. If you take emotions into consideration, if the person likes it, nothing like it. But if the person does not like it, it goes the other way around. So there was an intern which I hired I had last week, and it was just 2 days, and third day she said, "I want to resign because you're laughing on me because of my mistakes." I'm saying, I'm just trying to laugh off your mistakes. I'm not shouting on you. So it was like I was just trying to, be gentle and polite, and I was just trying to laugh off the mistake, and she took the other way around. So it's completely different, complete different
Right.
learning for me altogether.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that experience. And that is what validates the importance of body language, right? Something that we've totally underestimated. I mean, whenever we talk about communication, we always say 55% of it is body language, 38% of it is voice tone. And that 55% now is totally missing. All we have is the voice tone
Words.
38%
We
and
only have words
7% of
to say
words.
now.
Yes, yes. So we're
It's in
totally
the
missing
chat
out on
box.
a true, true. So great. Very interesting anecdote there, Amit. Thank you for sharing. I also see empathy being talked about here, that empathy is really important. Absolutely, it is important, Weber, well said. So the communication is changing because you can't see emotions, reactions, like how Amit was also sharing through this anecdote. And important that you know how to communicate. Interestingly, people take something they don't like as negative and rest all positive. Positives are taken for granted. Yes. Yeah. But that's a human tendency, right? If somebody says something good to you, you don't remember for too long. But any bad comment stays with us for a long time. Sometimes enough for us to hold back as a grudge in that relationship. Isn't it true? So at this point, let me also invite you to drop your designations and the experience and those numbers. Again, a quick reminder, and really indulge in as an individual. I want you to totally open up with your real challenges so that we can make this session real. Okay, the idea is not to share a concept or some new 5 hacks which are sounding good. It is about really putting together our real experiences, putting these hacks into those experiences, and having a little discussion on how and to what extent is it going to help us. Okay, so thank you for making a start on that note, Amit. Let us now dive into the hacks. What are these 5 things that we need to remember so we communicate beyond content and really establish that connect? Now, one thing is very clear, that there is no argument about the fact that we need to establish a connect. Is that right? We all agree that there has to be a connect when we're communicating, not just virtually, even in a physical space, in a real space, you need to connect with people. But how do we do that? And how do we do that virtually more so? So when we discuss these pointers, I want you to take it to every space of your life. Take it to your relationships. Take it to when life is going to come back to normal. And it will. There will be a time when we will be shaking hands again. I'm looking forward to that. And I don't want us to forget how we do that right. Having said that, these pointers are going to hold us strong even in that scenario. So let's take it everywhere and see what we can learn and how we can operate a little differently as far as communication is concerned. So the first thing that I want to share with you is called connecting with yourself. The first and foremost thing about communication is to first know who you are. Connect with yourself means to be confident and to be yourself. Very easy to say, not so easy to do. Because just as how there was a scenario discussed a while back, when I'm trying to be myself, it is possible that people can misunderstand me. So I'm always on tenterhooks. I'm always on my toes, wondering which action or word or gesture can be misunderstood. And that is what holds us back from being who we are. But there is a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is that many of us don't even know who we really are. Forget about holding yourself back and not allowing yourself to be who you are. Do we really know who we are? To what extent are we comfortable with who we are? How much time do we invest in understanding who we are? And that person who you are is going to show up no matter where you are, whether you are virtual or you are in the real life, no matter what you're trying to hold back. But are you aware of who that person is? So let me share a little story here. I don't like to discuss politics and politicians. It's not my favorite topic. But when it comes to stories, there are just so many stories in that space that sometimes you get tempted. So let me take you back to a story of George Bush and his leadership as a president. And he had like a two-term presidency, and he kind of created a story, an example of both the extremes of communication that we are discussing today. There was one extreme where he totally connected, became a hero, became people's man. And then there was another story where he totally broke people's trust and lost that reputation forever. So very quickly taking you back to 9/11, when that unfortunate incident took place, and there was an air crash into WTC and Pentagon. And it was a devastation, not just for America, but for the entire world. While terrorism was trying to define itself and create that, that fear, George Bush, in that time, within 4 days, I think, was standing in the middle of that wreckage, talking to the firefighters, talking to the police officials, talking to the rescue members, talking to people who were around, trying to get bodies out of the wreckage, and shaking hands with people, listening to what's going on with them, being with them. In fact, there is a picture of his arm around one of the firefighters, and that picture stayed in people's mind for a very, very long time. In that crowd, somebody said to him that, could you be louder? We can't hear you. And Bush heard that, and he said to the crowd, I can hear you, and I can hear you real well. And I need to tell you that people who have done this to us will hear from us as well real soon. And that is what created that connect with people, where they felt comforted, they felt connected with the man who was leading the country, knowing that he's part of that grief. He is with them. Fast forward 2005, 31st October 2005, when another unfortunate incident took place, Hurricane Katrina. Now, this is where there's flood everywhere, another episode of devastation in New Orleans, and people just don't know what to do. Now here, instead of doing exactly what Bush did and did it so well in 2001, he made the mistake of flying over that area in his Air Force One and peeping out of that little window from his chopper to check on the place. And even after that, took more than a week to take any meaningful action so the people in that Gulf Coast could feel heard, could feel that they matter. And that one gesture or lack of it took away all the reputation that he had built for himself of being a leader who's a people's man, who connects with people. In both these scenarios, communication and that 7% of what he said mattered very little. All that mattered was the presence, the gesture, the action, the connect in the real sense. And that happens when you know who you are and when you can bring that person from within outside in real scenarios, when you really, truly need to connect and communicate as a leader. So I want you to reflect on your own experiences. How long back can you go in your mind to recollect episodes where you were playing the 2001 of Bush's gestures? And when were you 2005 version of his, when he was in his second term and failed to show up for people? How often have you showed up for people, and how many times did you dodge it for whatever reason? We all always mean well. We always have great intent. Intent is not being questioned here at all. I'm talking about actions. I can feel a lot for certain causes that are close to my heart, but what is the action that I take towards it is what matters. I can have the intent to help, but if there is no action, the intention is of no good at all. So can you go back to the times in your leadership and write down at least one story? And we all have these stories. We have this story where we showed up, and we also have these stories where we didn't or we could have in a better way. When did we fail to connect? Let's just write down maybe a few keywords that can help you to remember that story, just for your sake. So we have a reference point to go back to and ensure that this doesn't happen again, because this was not me. And that takes me back to the question, so who are you? How well do you know yourself? And how confident do you feel about yourself? So as always, we're going to indulge into a lot of self-reflection here, because this session is for you. I want you to consider this session as your me time. And when it is your me time, we need to go inside of our own self and see what needs to be fixed, what needs to be realized. So let's dive in with these 3 questions. If you know yourself, and if you can bring yourself into your communication to connect, then I want to encourage you to answer these 3 questions right now. The first question is, how would I describe my personality? Can you quickly write down in sentences or keywords on your notepad, how would you like to describe your personality? And I'll take a pause here because I really need you to do this with me. This is a workshop. It's not just a webinar. It's not a monologue. So please write down, how do you describe your personality? The second question is, what is my greatest character strength? What is my greatest character strength? And the third question is, what is my greatest character weakness? Only if you're done with your response to these 3 questions, just say done in the chat box, please. Done? Great. Take a minute. This is really, really important. Before we go ahead, it's important that we have a clear response to these questions. And if you're not getting a clear response, that in itself is a great realization, right? What is stopping me from being able to describe who I am? Am I aware of my strength? Am I aware of my weaknesses? All right, done. Fantastic. Great. All right. So now let us check how confident we are. Now that we know who we are we really confident? On a scale of 10, 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, I don't believe in a 0 scale, because I don't think we're on a 0 in anything at all in life. There is always a 1. So from 1 to 10, how would you rate the extent to which you relate to others? How well do you relate to others on a scale of 10? How well do I communicate with others? They're 2 different things. Relating is empathizing, connecting. Communicating is being able to tell people what you mean, articulating your thoughts and opinions so that it reaches out to the other person in the same manner. So 2 different questions. How well do I relate? And how well do I communicate? I might be relating very well with people, but I probably am not such an effective communicator, or vice versa. And the third is, how likable am I? Or so I think. I can have my own self-assessment, right? Someone might give me a 2, I might give myself a 6. What do I think? How likable am I is the question that I want you to answer here. Wonderful, thank you. Some of you have shared your response. I want you to put that down on paper as well, so we can go back to this at the end of our discussion. All right, if you're done with all 3 scores, all 3 need to be separately scored on a scale of 10, okay? How well can we relate? How well can I communicate? And how likable do I think I am? Done? Just give me a done in the chat box if you're done. All right, 987, 788. I like these numbers. I sniff a lot of honesty here. Thank you, guys. Done. Fantastic. All right. Now here is a bit of a homework on this. Now what I encourage you to do is to reach out to at least 3 people who are close to you, if not 5. I would love if you can reach out to 5, but at least 3 people close to you, and ask them these 3 questions about you and request them to rate you on the other 3 questions. So the 3 questions you will ask them are, can you describe my personality for me? Can you tell me what is my greatest character strength and my greatest character weakness? Now, mind you, I'm using the word character there, so I'm not talking about your skill. I'm talking about your character. As a person, what is your strength? Is it being compassionate? Is it being patient? Is it being a great listener? What is your character strength? And what is your character weakness? Do you get influenced easily by people? Do you hold on to grudges for way too long? Are you unforgiving? Once you're upset, you don't go back to that person ever. What is your character weakness that you know is not serving you, but it is there and you acknowledge it? Once you've answered these, please go back to 3 or 5 people who know you really well and encourage them to honestly share the response. And then put these 2 papers next to each other and see what is the difference between what I think of myself and what people perceive me to be. Now remember, perception is more real than reality. I might think that I am a very trustworthy person, but if I get a score of 3 on 10, I am definitely not trustworthy to people. So there is definitely something missing in my own understanding of my actions. If I know I can be a trustworthy person, what about my actions is not reflecting that to people? Let us stop ignoring perceptions, thinking, let people think whatever they have to. I know who I am. It doesn't matter what people say. It does. Because we are not successful alone in a jungle. We all make each other successful. We all support each other to be successful. And that is why any growth chart looks like a pyramid. People are picked from one level to the next level, and people who are picked by other people. So we can't run away and shy away from what people think of us. Matching that perception to your reality is probably the single biggest challenge you should take up on yourself. And once you overcome this and create that balance, you will achieve a lot more, a lot faster. And that's my guarantee to you. No matter where you are in life, no matter how successful you are already, see how far are you from the perception people have of you and try and match that and see where you will go from there. So let us complete this homework ideally today before we step into a relaxed Sunday. If after this webinar, you can reach out to 3 more people and get the response, you will do a huge favor to yourself. See what that response looks like. And then encourage the same set of people to also rate you on a scale of 10 on the 3 questions. How well do they think you relate to others? How well do they think you communicate? And how likable do they think you are? I am assuming that people you will reach out to will be honest enough to tell you what you must know. So it's not about hugging and kissing each other. It's about ensuring that we are supporting each other to grow. And that support starts and ends with honesty. All right, so how many of you are committing to this homework? Just say yes if you are committing to this. Yes, I am going to do this. I'm picking this challenge. I am going to complete this homework today. Let me see how many yeses I get from everyone present in the room. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, it's increasing and increasing fast. I'm going to do it. Thank you so much, Abhishek. This will be one very, very impactful exercise that you will be doing today. Fantastic. Great. Surely do it. Thank you so much. All right. So that is the first point I want you to consider when it comes to communication. How well do we know ourselves? And what is the perception people have of us, and how far or close are we with that perception? Now let's move to the second point, which is now about knowing your people. And by this, I mean your team or people you work closely with. How well do you know them? Do you know their names? Do you know their background? And by background, I mean their culture, their education, their interests, their family members. How well are the family members doing? And do you know about their dreams, their aspirations, their goals? What motivates them? What ignites their energy level? What gets them excited about life? How well do you know your people? And if you were a senior in your setup, in your enterprise, then I want to encourage you to take this down to the next level, your 2 downs, your 3 downs, and see people you are communicating with often or you're addressing, how many of them are known to you to the extent of knowing their background and their names, their dreams, their goals. Are you aware? And if yes, then to what extent? So let's do a very quick self-assessment here again and see how much would you like to score yourself on a scale of 10, on how well do you know your teams. So you may want to break this down into levels and say my level 1 is my direct 1 downs, my level 2 is my 2 down, my 3 down, and so forth, and see what is the score you want to give. So definitely, I'm sure you would know the names of your 1 downs, but do you know the names of your 2 downs and your 3 downs? And people you interact with, people you give a pep talk to because you're supposed to as a senior sometimes. How well do you really know who are you talking to? Where do they come from? What are their real challenges? What are their dreams, their insecurities? These are the times, the testing times, when a leader is tested for being a leader or just playing a leadership role. Are we communicating to transact, or are we communicating to build trust? Are we communicating for a quick review, or are we communicating to relate? How are you communicating with your people? And to answer and understand that, you need to know how well do you know them. I'm sure you would agree when someone talks to you with your name, you feel more connected, more honored, more respected, as against just calling you as one of the many in the room. And that's what you would have realized and noticed probably in our sessions as well. Whenever there is a response or someone is indulging, I make sure I take your name. And how does that make you feel? I'm sure you feel more recognized, right? You're in the room, not just as one participant, but you as Amit, you as Angelina, you as Shailesh. And with that acknowledgement, what is your level of ownership in this session? And imagine, how can you elevate the ownership of your team just with this small gesture of making an effort to remember their names? Names is the sweetest music to anyone's ears. Your own name is the sweetest music to your ears. So let us ensure that we put in that extra bit to remember people's name and then go beyond that and understand their background, their challenges, their family setup. Has their spouse lost a job? Are they feeling insecure about losing their job? Are they not sure about to what extent and to how far will our business continue to grow or even exist? Are we transparent with them? Are we encouraging them to be transparent about their fears and insecurities with us? That is the only job of a leader right now. When I'm talking about communication, this is all that matters for us to communicate with our teams in such testing times, especially in a virtual space when we can't read their body language. We don't know how will we be understood. Knowing our people helps us to frame those sentences well, to know exactly how you need to put out an expression that will be taken in the right manner. So I encourage you to look at your score on these 3 criteria and see if you can come up with a plan or a strong intent, at least, to improve those numbers. Even if it's on a 7, it needs to be on a 9. And if it's on a 9, then I want you to look at that and see whether you are operating on a shrunk scale. Can you stretch the scale? Can you raise the bar for yourself? Can you put your 9 as a 6 and say, here I am, I think I'm a 9, but if my 9 was a 6, what are the things that I can do to improve 4x from here? Can I improve 4 steps forward? What can I do to get better? Okay. So let me pick up on a few comments here. I'm getting a lot of interesting comments. It says, I'm a bit nervous as well now. I want you to elaborate on that, Weber, if that's okay with you.
Sure. So, I was just thinking that I have self-rated myself just now. And when you just now said that, why don't you ask 3 to 5 people in your team? So what I did was I took a snapshot of these questions, and I have now sent it to at least 8 to 9 people. including the ones which I know in my team really love me or like me, and to a few people whom I think may have some observation about me. So while I have given myself some ratings, 8, 9, and 7, I am a bit nervous what others would think about me. So, so let's wait and watch. I have sent the message on WhatsApp to everyone. Let's see.
Yeah. Isn't it exciting?
Yeah.
It's like that good nervousness, right? I mean, I'm just doing a reality check.
Yeah. And purposely I've sent it to a few of them whom I know that honest rating and maybe, much lower than what I'm thinking.
Good,
So,
good.
yeah.
Let me really congratulate you for that, because it takes a lot of courage to do something like this. It looks very easy, but to put yourself out there and encouraging judgments is not easy. One thing that we don't like is being judged. And we're actually putting ourselves out there through this task and asking people to judge us. And that takes a lot of courage. So pat your back for that, Vaibhav. And I would love to know how that turned out for you.
Sure, we'll let you know.
Yeah, great. Okay, so 3 levels I'm aware, but many are not very comfortable to discuss their challenges, especially challenges in the personal space. Yes, that is true. But there is always a way to be little on top of that, because their line managers should be able to build that comfort. And when we are talking to our directs or their directs, to whatever level 1, level 2, level 3, that you are comfortable and involved, can we know through them about the rest of the organization? Because obviously for a few of us, span is an issue, right? We can't go beyond a certain number of people because we have restricted bandwidth. But through these people within our span, can we learn about the larger picture? Can we get a little sense about where is the team? How are they feeling? What is going on? What's happening on the floor, the virtual floor? The next comment, and then we move to the next point here. Okay, in some organizations, communication is delivering leader thoughts or imposing it. How can we develop communication system in such organizations? Sandeep, would you like to elaborate on this?
All right. Hi, Yuti. The concern over here is like I have experienced it in the small, medium organizations where the leadership is in the hand of the owner, and they generally try to take all the major decisions of the organization, and they hire people. But when it comes to the board meetings, when it comes to the sales meeting, when it comes to the entire key management meeting, I have observed none of them, even they are highly paid. Some of them are paid in millions of dollars, but I have never seen them open their mouth, because I saw the owner is just keep on talking for 4 hours, 5 hours. And then all of a sudden he said, I think you all are agree, and everybody says agree. But I never found that in a right way of communication, because I'm the person who has always never been a yes boss. So I have always find a lot of challenge, and in such scenario, it's very difficult to, encourage people that why you are only listening. You are being paid to not to listen. You are being paid to give your views. You are intelligent enough to give your views. So my concern over here is that I have worked in these kind of scenarios. So I want to understand how to develop this two-way of communication, that these people should also start listening to that. That's the biggest challenge I have always feel.
Very good question, Sandeep. Thank you for asking. And I know exactly what you mean, because sometimes sitting in that meeting makes you feel like you're there to add value. And if you're not contributing, then you're not adding any value. And it is so true. So I would want you to see if you can create that space and comfort for yourself to ask the questions and get into that relevant discussion, instead of worrying about others, because most of us suffer from what we call as a herd mentality. That it is one of the many biases that we operate under without knowing. So if you talk to me about people's self-awareness, I will confidently tell you that 95% of those who say they are self-aware are not. I can bet my life on this, and I can take you through a quick test and prove it to you that 95% of people who say they are aware, many of them don't say that either, right? They know that they're not so self-aware. But even out of that population who say they are, 95% of us are not, because we don't know the biases that control our behavior, our thought process, and even our decision making. Now, one bias that is very, very popular amongst us all is this herd mentality. If nobody is asking a question, I decide that is the right protocol. I should also be quiet. If no one is asking, then it must be something wrong to do. So let me follow the bandwagon. And that's what everybody is thinking. So what is funny is that they're all waiting for someone else, someone other than them, to break this and bring in some more sense in the room. Make it a dialogue from a monologue. But no one wants to be that one person. So if you feel so strongly about it, then I'm sure you know a balanced way to put your point across, put your opinion across, and ensure that you're able to speak your mind and add value to that discussion. And soon you will realize that people will create that comfort for themselves and follow you. Having a discussion with people and encouraging them or telling them what is the best thing to do in order to, get more from the larger picture doesn't always work, because all of us are great followers, or so we think, by the way. But very few of us really want to lead into the unknown space. And it is the unknown space where your behavior is going to stand against the normal behavior, quote unquote. Make sense?
Yeah, to a certain extent, yes. But what I feel that, see, I have tried a lot, I think in couple of my own, I'm talking about the role which I am playing, and I have been the only one who could be considered the nasty guy, because he's the one who keep on asking, and he's keep on not nudging or you're accepting it or saying no also. So, but when I found it, that end of the day, like I have traveled international for attend the meeting, and after that I come back and home, and I was thinking that why did I go first time? So then I decided the next time if I go, I'm gonna say, raise my hand, that if you're calling me to listen to you, you better give me a call. Why you want me to stay out with my family, travel 9 hours in a plane and to different time zone, and just to 6 hours I'm sitting in front of you. You are speaking and I'm listening, and I'm going back home. And with all the concern, whatever you said, I never agree on that. So then I started raising my voice that this is not the way, we could do another way. But when I asked the opinion with the other leaders sitting around over there, I've never seen, I don't know what fear they have in their mind, I don't know. But I feel like it's very difficult. And these people are working longer than me in that organization. But maybe they found this is only success to keep quiet and take the money out at home and keep the family happy. But that is not my way of working. But I always find this very challenging in these kind of an organization, which are in monetary way, I can say they are doing financially very good, but the leadership is the one thing which I always face is the biggest challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Sandeep. I always say that, whenever we're sitting in a learning space, we also imagine so many other people who should have been here listening to this and changing a few behaviors within them, but they're not here. And they are on their own learning path. And as and when they will realize what they must realize, they will get to a better version of who they are. But let me congratulate you for holding your mettle and ensuring that you are, standing up for what you truly believe in. And honestly, my personal view is that it doesn't come in a way of success. For all you know, the other person has never heard a contrary view, or in fact, leave alone a contrary, but any other view. And that might be a very refreshing change for the leader as well, to hear someone talk and get some participation. Maybe it will be looked upon as an encouraging behavior. We don't know. And even if it wouldn't, it will make you feel more fulfilled in what you do. And that, I think, is bigger than any paycheck that we can ever earn, right? That sense of fulfillment. Like you rightly said, I'm going there, I might as well add value. If I'm doing a session here, I want to add value. I want you to tell me I'm adding value. Otherwise, this is futile. Even if it was a paid session, it didn't matter to me, right? What matters is that I'm adding value. And that is what drives humans. All of us are driven with this need to be needed. This innate need that we have to add value, to be important to people, to add more to someone else's life. And that is what drives us all. We find our own ways to do that. And sometimes people do that in ways which can be camouflaged, which can be within their comfort zone. There are very few like you, Sandeep, who wants to take that one step out of their comfort zone. And the moment you do that, you know that you've moved towards growth zone, because that is what is there outside your comfort anyway.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Thank you very much. And I always say that you step out of the box and the comfort zone, and the magic begins,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure you're experiencing it. Thank you for sharing. When
Thank
you
you.
share, it opens up a lot for people who are listening as well. So this participation is all that matters. Thank you so much. I'll just pick up one question here, and then we go ahead. Okay, so I have never thought of asking dreams of my peers. Parag says, sure. Should suggest how should we indulge in this kind of a dialogue in remote work culture? Okay, let me open this question up to the room. While I have a suggestion for you, Parag, let's see if there can be any other suggestion from the room. So Parag is asking a very interesting question, and he says, I would like to ask dreams from my peers, my seniors. I want to know what their dreams are, which I haven't asked ever. But what is the best way to indulge in this kind of a dialogue in a remote work culture? Any suggestions from the room?
Can I,
Sandeep?
Sandeep?
Yes, sure,
Sandeep,
Sandeep.
yeah, Sandeep. I think the best way to ask for the dream is to share your dream, because you can't ask your peers or seniors that what is your dream, for maybe somebody take it very professionally and somebody take it very personally, what exactly you mean. So you can say, yesterday night I had a very great dream. I saw that we are growing in that perception way, and management had a different view about that, and so I was seeing that the situation was turning in the right way, and after pandemic this thing happened and that happened, and then you can say that was my dream. So how do you correlate with that? Is that a real dream of yours, or was it a total fictitious one for me? I think then the communication can go in the right way. That's what I feel.
Very interesting, Sandeep. Thank you. It's very close to what I had in mind as well. Anyone else wants to make a quick suggestion to Parag? What can be another way to have this dialogue?
Hi, I had just one small suggestion.
Yes, Amit.
Yeah, so whenever we want to, ask about somebody else's dream, probably share your dream. At that time, people just open up at times.
Yes.
Isn't it so?
Yes, that is so true. That is what Sandeep was saying as well. Absolutely right. So here you go, Parag. Maybe you could open up with what your dreams are, and make sure when you do that, you are absolutely authentic about it. It should be your dream. It should be something that really touches your heart. As it said in leadership, before you ask for people's hand, connect with their heart. So when you are sharing a discussion such as this about dreams, something that's personal, make sure you're able to open up as well very authentically and share about your dreams, your aspirations, and then invite the other one to share if they are comfortable. How do you think about this dream? And what I would just interest me. I'm curious to know what would be your dreams. What does your vision look like? I mean, I'm sure we'll all bounce back, and once we do, what is it that you dream of? And make that as maybe an icebreaker, because when we get into meetings virtually, what we miss out on is to connect. We straight get on with the agenda, that is if we have one. Thankfully in this virtual space, we've realized the way to manage time much better than we used to. We're able to get a lot more work done. We have meetings planned more intelligently. That's been by and large my experience when I see my clients operate now. There's a huge difference in the way they're operating. So it's back-to-back meetings, but back-to-back is possible only when your agenda is clear and crisp and you've communicated that. So all those ticks in the boxes are important for it to be effective. And all that is happening a lot better than ever before. But are we getting too transactional about the agenda? Or are we baking in those 5-10 minutes within the agenda to just warm up? Maybe with a story, maybe with a personal experience, or maybe we're just opening up to say, all right, why don't we just dream and go beyond these crazy times and imagine the times when things will be all right, because they have to. Whatever goes down comes up. What would it look like to you? What is the first thing you want to do when this virus is gone forever? What is that first thing you want to do? Maybe that's a great question to open up a meeting.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Parag. Let's now move on from understanding ourselves, knowing our people, to the third thing we need to keep in mind on communication, and that is to appreciate and to be acknowledged. I cannot emphasize enough about the importance of appreciating people. I have never heard anyone complain that I am so sick and tired of all this appreciation that I get all the time. Have you heard anyone complain like that? I'm just so sick of this. All the time people are appreciating me and I don't like it. I'm done with this. I don't think anyone would ever complain about being appreciated or being acknowledged. We all love it. But we all don't mindfully do as much of this as we can. We have reasons to do it as well, but we just don't. And appreciation does not mean achieving a milestone always. Appreciation can also be for a small gesture, for coming on time, for starting something on time, for adding value, for asking a question. And the same holds true for acknowledging. Acknowledging people's presence right now is the only way we are communicating with people, because we can't see them. Most of the times the videos are off. No matter how much you keep requesting people, they are not either comfortable or the bandwidth doesn't allow them to put the videos on. So you don't know who you're talking to, and you don't know how many of them are even listening to you. So in such a scenario, if we are able to acknowledge people's presence, if I say, hi, Saurav, thank you for joining in today. Thanks, Shailesh, for making time again, and acknowledging their presence, don't you think you've got them more in the room than they were before? This is exactly what you can do in all your virtual meetings as well. Whatever we're doing in this webinar could open up a lot of ideas for you to make it an engaging meeting every single time you're engaged in one. Let us ensure we're able to acknowledge people. We're able to acknowledge that they were not well, they're feeling better now, and they're in the meeting. And just that little one line to check on how they're doing before you get into the agenda. Or acknowledging somebody else to be there always without missing any single meeting. And maybe that qualifies for an appreciation. So how much and how well are we appreciating? And how much and how well are we acknowledging people when we are communicating with them, especially online, especially in the virtual space? Let us again do a quick self-assessment. Let us put a score there. Let us see what that number looks like. Thanking everyone by name in the meeting is very good idea to bring their attention. Praveen says, yes, Praveen, try it out. It always works. Abhishek, I would love to understand a little better on your comment. People even listening, good question in every meeting. Is that what I read?
No, you just mentioned, Yukti, that that's a concern, right? That people are even listening. I think that's a question in every meeting you have on virtual. So,
Right. So yeah. So how do you combat that? What do you do about this, Abhishek? Is there a trick that we can learn from you on how you ensure people come back to the room?
What Praveen mentioned on the chat, I think that's one way of looking at it, taking care of it. At least I had been taking names for the people, and at least in this pandemic situation, I'm trying to meet my entire organization team, right? All 3 levels, 4 levels below me, at least once a month. But I meet my team directly every week. But I'm trying to take the names. I'm trying to connect with them by asking questions, talking about different things. Talking about various interests. People may be interested, like movies or cricket or sports or anything else. So there had been other discussions where I pull the people in the call. That had been a kind of attempt I had been doing.
Wonderful. I think these are great tricks. And if I may add a few to the list, these poll questions adds a lot, because you get the count there, number of people present in the room and number of people responding to the poll. So when you're throwing out a poll, it can be some fun poll. Sometimes it can be something related to the discussion, but it encourages people to put their response, and it's a quick way to respond, because there are multiple choices, right? So you just have to pick one single option. So poll is one way to make it even more engaging. And of course, another way is to randomly pick on someone and just check on their views. What do you think? So you can just pick on anybody and say, okay, what do you think about what's going on? And see what is the lag in the response. So people then know that anybody can be called upon anytime, and they're more hooked on. Yeah, but these are the things that we've got to try and do that very gently, because we don't know what is their story in the house, what is happening in the background. All of us are stretched beyond what we'd ever imagined. There are online classes happening for children. There is something getting cooked in the kitchen, which is going to make some noise. And there is some other activity happening in the house beyond your control. Some of us don't have the luxury of space, physical space in the house. So we know that we're going to have a disturbed environment. And hence, I'm not out there, as much as I can be. So bringing in that level of empathy in communication today is really, really important. What we have seen is our normal. But what we are preparing for is a new normal. And in this new normal, there is a lot of different versions of normal that we need to understand and accept. There are people who have very small spaces in the house. They don't have their own work corner. There are people who are dealing with children at the same time, and their bandwidth is getting stretched physically as well as from broadband perspective. There is too much action going on beyond their control. So can we bring in that empathy and not conclude lack of response as lack of interest? Maybe there is some environmental issue that's beyond our knowledge. So let us appreciate and acknowledge with empathy. The next point that I want to share with you, which is going to be the most critical point in communication, not just virtual, but in any space, is to focus on people. When we are communicating, our intent should be to understand people and not be understood ourselves. Now, if your response to that in your mind is, of course, I know this, I want you to question that response and say, do you really act upon it as well? You might know this, but do you act upon it as well? When you are talking, how desperately do you want to be understood? And how patient are you to understand the other person? Is your focus on you, or is your focus on them? And when your focus is on them, you know that you don't have a choice but to be a better listener. Because the only way I know what is happening with you is to listen to you, to hear you out. And listening is a skill that can be developed. I've shared this acronym earlier in my previous webinars. If there is anyone from any of those sessions or can recollect, FIGI, my 4-step process to be a better listener, I would want you to share that in the chat box while I open up a very interesting fact that there are in fact 3 levels of listening. Did you know that? There are 3 levels of listening. So the first level of listening is a default listening. You're talking, I'm listening, but I'm doing something else. And I think I've got everything that you've said. A large part of me believes that I've got you, but it's a default listening. I'm not consciously involved and engaged with you. The second level is active listening. When I don't indulge in multitasking, I'm with you, I'm following FIGI, like the 4-step process to be an active listener. And I will open up that to you in a bit if I don't get a response in the chat box on what you think it stands for. So it's a 4-step way for us to remember how to move from default listening to active listening. And then there is a level 3, even beyond this. And that level is holistic listening, which is challenging right now because holistic listening involves a lot of body language cues that we are missing out on in this space. So we will face difficulty in listening to the extent that we are capable of, because we are all capable of holistic listening. Holistic listening is a combination of listening carefully using FIGI, that I will tell you in a bit, and also reading people's body language and trying to listen to what is not even said. Do we understand our people to that extent that we can listen to what is not being said? And I don't mean judgments here. I don't mean that, oh, I'm reading between the lines. Basically, you meant this, but you said that. No. We're going on a tangent. What I mean is being able to see how comfortable people are when they're talking to you. What is their body language telling you? Are they feeling as good as they're saying? Are they okay as much as they're saying they are? What about their gestures, their body language, or their being can give you a little hint, a little understanding of what's truly happening with them? Then you are on the highest level of listening. You are a holistic listener. So if we have an excuse that virtually we don't have the liberty of understanding body language cues, we always have some people floating around in the house, right, who are the closest to us, and also unfortunately the ones we take for granted the most. Can we practice holistic listening with them? If you're able to do that, they will hit a jackpot. And I will leave my email address at the end of this session so they can thank me for it, because we don't extend holistic listening to our family members. We always wait to apply all the new things that we've learned as a leader to our team, to our business. But what about our family? Because habits are created at home. Whatever you're doing at home is who you really are. Everything else is an effort. And if you put in a lot of effort, you will give up sometime or the other, because it takes effort to consistently remind yourself to be who you're not. But if you make that as who you are, then it is seamless, it is effortless. You are just who you are. You are a holistic listener. So before being a holistic listener, there is a level 2, which is also quite aspirational for many of us. We might think we're great listeners, but active listening is a skill that needs to be practiced. As Dalai Lama says, when you are speaking, you can only say what you know. But when you're listening, you are learning. So are we ready to learn about our people? Are we ready to communicate, keeping them as the focus and not us? So what are these 4 steps of active listening? Would you like to know? If yes, then say bring it on, BIO, bring it on in the chat box. Okay, let's see how many people really want to know. How many of you really want to be active listeners and not default listeners? And before that, I'm glad that we are agreeing that sometimes, in fact, more often than not, we are default listeners. And we can have our own reasons for it. But being an active listener is an absolute compulsion for an effective leader. We don't have a choice but to be an active listener. All right, if you insist, let me bring on the 4 steps of being an active listener. I call this as an acronym FIJI, F-I-J-I. I'm putting this in the chat box as well, where F stands for focusing on the speaker, focusing when the person is talking and not framing some response to it already in your mind. So you're just focusing and you're with that person. You're not looking at your phone. You're not looking anywhere else. You are physically paying attention to what that other person is saying. So F stands for focus. I stands for interest in the speaker. Are you showing interest in the speaker? Are you nodding enough? Are you leaning forward? Are you giving some gestures, some vocal confirmations that you are there, you are listening, you're with them? Are you also rephrasing what you have heard to ensure what you've understood is right before you respond? Look at this carefully. We don't do this. Listen to this point again. Are you paraphrasing what you hear to ensure what you've heard and understood is right before you respond? How many of us do that as a practice? So if a question is asked, am I jumping into an answer, or am I rephrasing the question and getting your confirmation saying that, have I got your question right? Is this what you're asking? Is this what I hear? And then you will make a little correction if there needs to be a correction. Then you say, no, actually, Yuti, I didn't mean this. I meant that. Or yes, you've got it right. This is what I meant. And then I will share my response. Will you feel more heard if I do it that way? Or I just jump into whatever I think is the next best thing to say without really knowing whether I've got you right or not. We assume a lot of things. What is being said from there and what is being heard here travels a lot of distance. And virtually that distance is now 1,000,000x. How do you reduce that distance? By rephrasing, by paraphrasing, by asking that this is what you heard. Is this what was being said? So FIJI, focus, show interest in the person. J stands for judging. Do not judge where that person is coming from and what that person is saying. And we do that again very often with our family, okay? So the moment your wife starts talking, you're like, oh God, here she goes again. And here goes my husband again. And here goes my child again asking for some more screen time or whatever else that they've come to talk to you about. When we judge people, our listening stops, period. You might think that after that, you're still listening, you're still with them, you're not. Till such time we practice, and it is possible. With years of effort, I have been able to experience this, so I can tell you with my hand on my heart that it is possible to listen to people without judging. If there was one thing that came in my own way to being an active listener was to judge the response. And I had to very consciously drop that, very consciously imagine a clean slate with only your name on top. And I'm only listening. I'm learning something new about you. I know nothing about you. I'm only listening to what you're saying in this moment. It is a lot of fun if you practice it with the intent of being a better person, leave alone a better leader. And the last I stands for interrupt. Do not interrupt people when they talk. Even if you know what is coming next, just do not interrupt. Listen to them, let them finish what they're saying, and then say what you have to. Just the fact that I could complete my sentence by the way, makes me feel that I'm already heard. Did you know that? That's how human mind works. You have not given me any confirmation. You've not paraphrased anything. You've not given me a response, but you have only let me complete my sentence. And with just that bit, I am already feeling heard. Imagine not doing that to people, taking away that comfort, that reassurance from people that you are truly listening to them. So FIJI is focus, show interest in the person, do not judge, do not interrupt. Which out of these 4 is going to be your focus area? Let us get that in the chat box now. What are you taking away from this discussion on active listening? What is a challenge that you're able to identify in your active listening process? Which one of these or all of these or 3 of these, whatever combination is coming in your way right now, and you are committing to consciously look at it from this moment? Let us see. Thank you so much for your honesty, Parag. He says all. It was all for me too, by the way. It took me years to really say I'm an active listener and I want to be a holistic listener. F-I and I, Vaibhav, thank you. Judging all of them, judging and I. So it's interrupting, I'm assuming. Okay. Don't judge, don't interrupt. Absolutely. So you could put this down like in big caps on a wall or a whiteboard if you have in your room or office, and keep it there till such time you don't need to look at it ever. Make it into a practice, and trust me, it will scale up your leadership ability to another level without doing anything else. So that is what listening is all about. When we are focusing on people, let us make sure that our intent is to understand and not be understood. Elevate your listening from default to active and from active to holistic. Practice at home so that it becomes who you are, and then wherever you go, it just is how you listen and how you operate. There is no effort involved then. All right, let us now move to the last point that I want to share with you on communicating to connect, and that is to offer direction and hope. All that we are clinging onto in current times is hope. We are hoping that we will be able to hug each other again. We will be able to shake hands. We will be able to do business the way it is always done, because there are some businesses which cannot come online as seamlessly as few others. As a coach and running a coaching and training academy, it was a challenge for us to come online as well. We had no online courses, and now we are running 2 online courses. I'm launching a 3rd one on 15th August. So it was very quick learning for us to know how can we create that impact in an online space. But I would consider that transition to be simpler compared to those who do not have a product or service which can create an online version. For example, travel. Like, what do you do if you're supposed to travel? You're supposed to travel. I can do all the arrangements with you online, but I cannot make you travel online. So those businesses are suffering. Some of the manufacturing businesses are suffering. And there is just no online version they're able to think of. And that is when you need to bring in creativity and think out of the box and see, can I create another vertical? Because I have the responsibility of all these people. We need to keep going. What can we create which is of value today? As much as we were of huge value just some time back, how can I use all those skills I have to create value today in today's scenario? And with that creativity and that clarity, you are able to create hope for people. As a leader, it is your responsibility to offer them direction and hope. And to be able to do that, we need to indulge in a little bit of self-reflection again. On a scale of 10, I want you to answer this for yourself. How would you rate yourself as a public speaker? Now, I know I've heard this many times, and I probably think it's true as well, that most of us fear public speaking even more than death. I want us to get over this statement. I want us to collectively say it's not true anymore, Yukti. It was true some time back. It's not true anymore, because public speaking is just about speaking to someone like me. My fears, my dreams are not just mine. Everybody has fears and everyone dreams. They are just who I am, another person in the crowd, just as I am. I'm talking to them as how I'm talking to myself in multiple versions of me. That's what public speaking is about. I can take you deeper into that through our online courses, of course, which I want to talk about. If you would like to listen to what we are offering online, these are the courses which are basically going to help you align yourself and your skill set with today's time, how to be relevant as a leader today, what are the 4 skills required, that's a blueprint course. And then there's a challenge course, which is level 2, where we talk about decision making and a few other things. I would want to go deeper into that with your permission. After we complete the session, you can stay back and learn a little about it. I'm also, of course, happy to offer some special discount if you want to register for those courses, because my intent is to reach out to 100,000 leaders in this year and make sure that these 100,000 people create a new space, a new expertise, a new experience for themselves, and continue to grow with what they have. And they will be able to do this through these courses. We put in a lot of research to ensure that it's useful for you, especially if you are a leader who's responsible for other people. If you have teams to take care of, or if you run your own business, you will find this extremely, extremely useful. So I'll come back to that in a bit. But for now, let us see, where do you think you are on your public speaking skills? How often do you experience positive thoughts in a day? It is said that on an average, we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts in a day. 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day is a crazy number to even keep a tab on. But do I know and realize how many times am I thinking negative? And how often do I think positive? So what is that number that comes to your mind on a scale of 10 on how often you experience positive thoughts in your mind? Are you even aware of how positive or negative your thoughts are during the day, the entire day? And the third question, how solution-oriented are you in your personal life? And it's only a solution-oriented person who will be in a seminar such as this on a weekend, let me tell you, because you are looking for something. You are looking for elevating your game. You want to learn more as a leader because you want to contribute more. But it only starts with this intent. What is important is to support this intent by creating a conscious learning plan. And I always say that, whether it is our courses, some other courses, or some other way that you have identified to build that plan, having that plan together is very, very important. Otherwise, it is just an intent. Then you are just kind of clinging on to low-hanging stuff. Okay, free webinar. Okay, on a weekend, I'm not doing much anyway, might as well attend. That's one attitude, right? Another attitude is, okay, this is definitely relevant and I'm attending, whether free or not, but I also need to do this course, or I need to do these 3 things to ensure that I'm more ready, I'm upskilled for what the environment is asking for today. How are you upskilling yourself? Do you know what you need to upskill yourself for? What if what you do becomes obsolete today? And it has already happened to so many of us. Then what? What next? Are you just a vice president of a company? And if I take that visiting card away, are you struggling to put your skills and your strengths together to see what you can do with all that you are and still create value for others? How aware are you about those questions? Do you have answers to those questions? Because this downtime can really be used to up your game if you don't get carried away with the negativity of it. Let's hold ourselves back and use this as a self-reflection time to see, how well do I know myself? What do I add value? Why am I paid as much as I'm paid? What value do I add? And if this visiting card is taken away, or if this job is taken away, or if this business comes to a standstill, what can I still do with all that I am and all that I know and all that I'm learning consciously? So that's the 4th question, if I may, encourage you to add to these 3. Do I have a conscious learning plan for myself? Is that a yes or a no? So if you're done with that, just say done in the chat box. And I know that you have rated yourself on these 3 questions, which is what will help you to offer direction and hope to people. Are you able to speak well? Are you working on that ability to speak well? Because we can't run away and shy away from that as leaders. Are you able to catch yourself with your negative thoughts? How positive are you in the day? And how solution-oriented are you? Done? Great. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to come back to the chat room and stop sharing the screen. But before I do that, let me give you a glimpse of all that we've talked about in this session. There are 5 things that I want to bring to your attention to connect, communicate, going beyond content and truly connecting with people. One is to connect with yourself first, Be confident, be yourself. Before that, know who you are. And then second point is to know your people, know their names, their background, their dreams. Openness and sincerity. Bring in appreciation, bring in acknowledgement for your people a lot more than ever before. Even if you were this person who said, I don't wait to be appreciated to work. Why people need to be appreciated? But can I drop that and say, let me accept that people love being appreciated? Can I do that for them? What does it take away from me? Nothing at all. So can I bring in another level of appreciation and acknowledgement? Bring in that openness. Can I focus on people and not on myself? Can I be a better listener? And can I offer direction and hope by first working on myself, by being a genuine optimist myself, by having a clear action plan for my own learning, so that whatever I'm able to say and share with people is not just some jazzy, fancy stuff. It's not a story. It is a reality. And that reality will build with my knowledge, with my new learning, with my unlearning. How much am I on track with that? So I will stop sharing my screen. When you will receive my email after this session, you will get a picture of a snapshot of this mind map. So don't worry about that. You will have it with you for a quick reference. But let me now come back to you all in the room and have some sharing on what are you taking away? What resonated with you? Was there an eye-opening moment for you? Or was there a very important reminder that you experienced in the session? You could unmute and also use the chat box if you like. Let us see who comes out as a leader to share first. Leaders always go first.
Hi, this is Sandeep here.
Yes, Sandeep.
The terminology Fiji is nice. I really liked it. It's short and simple. Number one. Number two, I like the way you presented it, because what happens, most of the things, as you said, we are doing it in our daily life, but it becomes difficult for us to, represent it, that how well it can be given to somebody, because it's a very difficult job for leaders also, because he has in his mind and he has to transform the same into his team mind. And then it becomes a challenge for him that, because I can tell somebody that I love aloo ka parantha, but I can't tell them that how it has been cooked, And then if somebody brings an aloo ka parantha to me, then I start comparing it with the aloo ka parantha which I eat, and you have not brought the right one. And there the confusion starts, and people feel that the leader is mad, and he has something else in his mind, and he's asking us to do something else. So explaining the right way, and as I said to you, I like the way you have comprehended, and more of to know yourself. That is very important, because most of the time we live in a very fake or illusion that if I have given a chance of leader, because most of the time we are being hired as a leader by talking to somebody for 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes in an interview, and then they said, okay, why don't you lead my team? I really like you. And then when it comes to the leading the team over there, where I come to know that I'm not even a good team player, forget the team leader. So you should know yourself before you're taking up those challenges in your life. And rather than spoiling your own career, rather than spoiling your own peace of mind and focus of your life, or rather than just going away for that. So my takeaway is just 3 items.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Sandeep. As they say, that you are either a born leader or you're not a born leader. I think everybody is a born leader because every leader has to be born, right? But that's where it ends, because beyond that, we all have to learn leadership. None of us are born knowing everything that it takes to lead other people. It is a process. It needs conscious learning. And very few of us realize that or sign up for it ever in our entire life. And those who realize it should know that the moment and the day you do is the best day of your life. And from there, things can start transforming. So it's never too late. But it definitely is an important thought that you planted in this discussion. Thank you for that, that you can be hired as a leader, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready to be one. You need to know yourself enough, and from there, start unlearning and relearning. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Vaibhav.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, Vaibhav.
Yeah. Hi. So, one of course, observation. I finally took some courage to, send these questions to my team. So I have like 60 members in my team. So, and there are hierarchies. So below me, 2 levels below me, 3 levels, and 4 levels below me. So what I did was, instead of sending it, because you said that send it to some, close ones. I mean, send it to, but I not only sent it to close ones, but I also sent it to the far ones as well. And by the way, I've started getting some responses already. 2 or 3 people have responded, and it's a decent response so far. So one, of course, I never did that, and I've done it for the first time, and I'm very excited to understand what responses I will get. Second, you also mentioned about how well do we know our people, like the names, backgrounds, etc. So since last 4 months, since we all are at home, so I started doing this with my team members, and especially with the juniors whom I don't communicate every day. So I started talking to them, what's happening in their life, this and that. As in fact, I realized a couple of people had actually COVID patients at their house. So I spoke to them and all that. So yeah, this something proactively I had started doing since almost a month now. For the first 3 months, I didn't do it, but yeah, since a month, I can tell you out of 60, I would have easily called 40, 45 so far and spoken to them around 10 to 15 minutes each. One learning for me is, of course, these 4 steps of being active listener. I had put a comment also on the chat box. I don't know if you read it or not. Off late, I've realized that my attention span to listen has gone down significantly. Maybe because of work pressure. There are so many things going on in my mind every day. So once I'm talking to a client, then internal fights I'm resolving with my team. Then sometimes senior management discussion. So suddenly the mind has to quickly adapt to the new call immediately after one call gets over. And when someone calls you for a help or something, sometimes it happens with me that my attention span is not there. And then I have to ask them, okay, sorry, come again. Can you repeat? What did you say? Because I was thinking something else. This is something which I really want to improvise on. And I know I'm very bad in this since last a few months. So this is something, FIJI, which is very interesting. So I'll try to adapt that as much as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that, Vaibhav. Can I share a tip with you on bringing your focus back? So one thing is that you're aware that you're losing focus, which, by the way, is enough reason to congratulate yourself for, because people can run into long discussions and not realize that they were not there. So to know that you were not there is the first step. Awareness is the first step towards any improvement. So great job there in itself. Now we can take this further by practicing something. Now I'm a great believer of spiritual practices, because I think spirituality is far from being religious, and spirituality actually connects you to your core. So whether it is meditation or silent walks or something which connects you to your core, improves your focus in general, not just to be a good listener, but just in general in life as well. So bringing in some spiritual practice and maybe increasing that time a little longer if you're already involved in some practice really, really helps. Personally, it has helped me a great deal, and a lot of my clients as well, who I coach personally. That's the second thing that comes to my mind. And the third thing is to be shameless. To be shameless in asking for that person to repeat themselves. But trust me, when somebody asks me to repeat what I said, it might be an irritant for a bit, that, I just said it, why weren't you listening? But deep inside, I also appreciate your interest in what I'm saying. You could easily pass that off and pretend that you heard me. But when you're asking me to repeat myself, you're also showing me your interest in what I have to say. And people see that and people acknowledge that. It might come with a bit of an irritant, but it does help people to acknowledge how much you are interested in them. And we all humans, we do lose focus, and there is really too much going on for all of us. So don't kill yourself for losing focus. Pat yourself for coming back.
Sometimes I do tell my team, whoever is talking to me, hey, can you please repeat, because my focus was somewhere else. I'm sorry. Sometimes I do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You should do that. I mean, shamelessly do that. Because that is your practice as well, to keep coming back. The fact that you don't want to say it so often will keep you there.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. I also hear in the chat box saying focus on starting the practice at home. Very important point you've picked up here. Absolutely. Navneet Krishnan. To practice and not judge, and Fiji as a way to active listening. Thank you so much for your active listening. Everyone in the room has been extremely patient. I am very excited to share some information about the course. But for those who need to, move on and get started with the weekend, I'm leaving my website, www.sbyacademy.in. You can visit our website and you will see courses there. Level 1 course is where your journey begins with us. That's the blueprint course. And then you advance to level 2. Very soon we will be launching Mastery. It's on 15th of August. Look out for it. I'm very excited. It's a leadership course for a year that we are launching, and it'll be extremely impactful for all leaders across all sectors. So I'll share more details about that when we get closer to the Independence Day and free ourselves from a lot of things that hold us back to be successful. Nilesh, you want to ask a question? Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Ms. Yukti. It is a wonderful session which you have taken it up. I think it's more of nurturing the thought processes which you have guideline completely, imposing a culture that people need to follow on the these kind of short-term perceptionary trends which are running on. I just have a question. Given the current scenario, as explained the earlier colleagues were explaining, that the work from home is more of a short-term oriented, and people do focus people like a short-term oriented person. So this perception is something worrisome. So how do we mitigate these kind of things?
So what you're saying is, if I hear you well, you're saying that people's interest spans are shrinking because everything is short-term now in the current scenario?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you elaborate this a little more for my understanding?
Well, see, just to put it up in a way, of course, you are from a banking background, which I understand from your profile, which has been put up in the LinkedIn. Like, when you are into project financing or when you are into a corporate risk banking or so, people don't go through the depth of it. So it's just for example, if I bring a company, if I want to fund a company, I said there's a very good variety of a company, but the people assessing that perception is always mentioning that this kind of a person will not be able to judge any kind of thing or will not be able to put up any action into skills. So that is where the entire crux changes completely. And second thing is that the task these days are more of an MIS driven. So people submitting the MIS a bit 5 minutes late, immediately the perception begins that this person is not capable to bring on things on task. So that is what I exactly wanted to understand from this perspective.
So I think two things that come to my mind right now, and I would love to go deeper in this with you later. But of whatever I'm understanding from you, I think the two things that come to my mind is, first, we need to understand and accept that the new normal will have a new routine as well.
Yes.
And the new routine is not a 9 to 6 anymore. We all know we're not working till 6. We're working for much longer hours than before. Some of us are, right? Some of us are actually finding 24 hours short. As much as we're not traveling anymore, we're not doing a lot of those short breaks we used to take, but the work has multiplied because these times are new, processes are new, and we're trying to build things from the scratch somewhere, right? So having said that, we need to create that space for empathy to let people take a break in the day, to let them have a longer lunch if they need to, because you know that they're going to stretch themselves for after 7, after 8 and all as well. So how are you looking at creating a new routine which serves the new normal, instead of blocking yourself in the room from 9 to 6 and telling your family to assume that you don't exist, and then after 6 finding excuses to stretch your working hours because you have to and the work hasn't ended yet? So what is happening is you are totally exhausting yourself, which in itself has dipped your productivity, and your attention span is reducing because you are not so high on your energy. Your energy needs to be elevated for you to bring in more attention, right? So to bring in attention, there is a simple rule that says after every 90 minutes, you should take 15 minutes break.
Okay.
That's a simple rule proven by scientific research that are, in fact, they even bring it down within an hour to say after 50 minutes, take 10 minutes break. But I find that to be difficult to practice in our scenario. And like you rightly said, coming from a banking environment, I know that it's very difficult for us to keep a track of every hour and get 10 minutes break every hour. We can definitely do 90 minutes to 15 minutes ratio. We can definitely maintain that. Every 1.5 hours, put a timer, take a 15 minutes breather, and which means a breather, which means stretching your body, getting a glass of water, having a cup of tea or coffee. That is a break. If you're shifting from one screen to the other, that is not a break. If you're shifting from sending emails to now making 2 important calls, that is not a break. A break means when you're able to relax your mind, get off the screen, have some water, do something to just relax your body and just come back to your breathing. And that elevates our productivity because it brings in more focus.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that question. Okay, another comment here. Thank you for the session. It's best session on communication I've ever attended. Thank you, Parag. That means a lot. One sentence that he's going back with is perception is far more real than reality. Absolutely. I keep reminding myself of it. Thank you so much. And thank you for staying back to hear me out a bit on the course. I'm not going to share too much detail because it's quite self-explanatory on the website, sbyacademy.in. But this is a course very passionately created only for leaders like you. So allow me 5 minutes to take you through that. If that's okay, just say it's okay. If you want to go ahead, no offense taken, please go ahead with your evening. If you can spare 5 minutes, then just say okay in the chat box and I will quickly share the screen with you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing that. Okay, so very quickly, I'm again going to take you into a mind map. You will, and then the screen later, the website, so that you know exactly what to do. Sorry, allow me a moment. Or, okay, let us get started with the website. So if you go to sbyacademy.in, you will land up on this page. Can you see it? So you will have a tab here called Courses. That is Upskilling Leadership Blueprint, our level 1, and Upskilling Leadership Challenge, our level 2 course. Upskilling Leadership Mastery is what we are launching on 15th August, like I said. Now, what does Blueprint do? What is this level 1 course? Is it a course for very junior people? Is it a course where it kind of brushes up something that I know about leadership? What does this really do? So to answer the first question first, it is a course for anyone who wants to create a conscious learning plan to be relevant in post-COVID times, which are very different from what we have seen in the past. And these courses are designed keeping in mind that they should be sector agnostic. So it doesn't matter whether you come from banking, manufacturing, or any other service industry, you will find it relevant. So what are the 4 things that we talk about in Leadership Blueprint? We talk about how to bring in creativity in your work and think out of the box, at the same time working within your creative limitations. So creativity. The second thing that we talk about is critical thinking, how to bring in a mindset with which you can create your own opinions and your own views and not get influenced by what the majority says. How to develop that balance between emotions and logic or rationale. The third thing is collaboration. The only way for us to have a bit of USP or a bit, pace higher than others is to know how to partner, how to collaborate. If we don't know how to collaborate, we will cease to exist, not only as a leader, but even as a business entity. So how do we know how ready we are to collaborate? As my own personal traits, do I know whether I have collaborative traits or not? And the fourth thing that you will learn is communication. What we have talked about in today's session is just scratching the surface of what we need to learn on communication. So we go much deeper on communication in this course, and it is divided in 4 segments. There is a masterclass for every module, followed by interviews that we've taken from experts like Prahlad Kakkad, Ashish Vidyarthi, talking about their secrets of success when it comes to creativity, communication. There are also other experts we've interviewed. And you have a lot of reading material to go deeper into these topics and writing assignments where I will make you do your own SWOT that you've never done before. It's a huge, most powerful tool, if I may say, on understanding who you are. And there is a way to do it. We've not learned how to do SWOT. I will take you through how to do it the right way. And there are many other self-reflection exercises that you will do. So you will read testimonials on this page. You can also read it in Client Club online courses, many more testimonials from professionals, bankers, senior vice presidents of Tata Groups. Many other people have done this course and found it to be useful only because it is very practical. And most importantly, we create a community of leaders. We all connect with each other, learn from each other. And I hold special live webinars for this community of participants every Wednesday at 7:30. We meet every Wednesday. We read books, learn from books in just 30 minutes. We understand different aspects of leadership outside the course content. So it's a very power-packed course that we put together for 15 days. Now, every day a new chapter opens up. You need to invest just an hour, anytime convenient for you in the day. But the content stays with you for your lifetime. So if you are losing pace, You're not losing on anything at all. The course is with you for lifetime, so you can always go back to that course. Any questions on this, on Blueprint? Yes, that's Rakesh Bhatia Sandeep. That's right. He's done the advanced course as well, and he's also now doing Leadership Mastery, the 3rd level course, on spiritual leadership.
Rakesh is with me on Indian Green Building Council committee.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Then you should have a word with him about his experience on this course. He'll tell you a lot more than I can.
Definitely, definitely. We are colleagues together. We often speak to each other about it.
Okay, wonderful. So if you are interested in Blueprint, then you will love the challenge. Challenge is where we talk about 8 different tools that you can use to do decision making in real life scenarios, 5 different approaches to handle conflicts, 5 different elements of emotional intelligence, and 20 different biases that club and blur your decision making. What are these 20 biases that you need to go beyond for higher self-awareness? You go through all this in challenge. It's a 30 days course. Again, the content is with you for lifetime. You invest half an hour a day in this learning, and the entire 45 days conscious learning plan is made for you. All you have to do is register, and I take care of the rest from here on. You immediately become a part of our community and start leveraging on the weekly webinars, where we talk about a lot more things than I do in the Saturday webinars, and you learn through the course content and the structure. So I would encourage you to take these 45 days conscious learning plan together. And to do that, you come to the homepage of the website and say buy now, upskilling leadership courses, and you can pick both of them together. This is what I wanted to share as a very special offering. So the course value for ULB very quickly is 20,000 and ULC is 35,000. But right now, because of COVID times, we've slashed the rates down significantly. ULB is now at 4,999 and ULC is at 9,999. So together, the 2 courses for 45 days is of value 14,998, which I'm happy to offer further 20% discount on right now. If you are ready to take this up and believe in me and believe in the content and structure I will put together for your growth, and sign up for it today before 11:59. If you do that, then you get further 20% off, which is another 3,000 of discount, and you will get this for 11,998. And if you ask any of the people who've experienced the course, they will tell you that this is an absolute steal for the value that it gives you and continues to give you, because you've become a part of our lifelong learning community. We call ourselves as Silhouette Circle of Leaders, and we continue to learn even after you're done with the course. So sounds good. Does it sound interesting? If it sounds interesting, let's just see that in the chat box. Do you think it's some interesting stuff put together? Thank you. Thank you. Great. So this discount is not on the website. You will have to use a code to avail this discount, and the code is COMBO, COMBO. Now here is what you have to do. Please go to the website homepage. You will see upskilling leadership courses and say buy now. This is the tab for you to buy both of them together. In your payment screen, you will have an option to put a discount code. Please put the code COMBO, 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 and you will be able to avail this 20% discount that I'm offering only for today and only for you all. I hope to see you on the other side as a participant, so that we are not waiting for just Saturday webinars, and we are connected every single day during this 45 days time of your course. Once again, let me remind you that you will have this content forever. So even if you're losing pace, don't worry about it. You will always catch the bus, and I'll make sure that you do. Thank you once again for your patient listening, for allowing me to introduce this course that I am very, very passionate about, and I'm sure you will get a lot of value from. Any questions on the course, I'm happy to take up, or any other questions. And if
Yukta, Abhishek here.
Yes.
What's the duration of the program every day? Like it's 1 hour?
1 hour. 1 hour.
And
at your own pace. So the chapters are rolled out every morning at 6:30. After that, anytime you can plan your day to make sure that you block 1 hour of learning. So within, and that could be any time during the day.
And there's a interactive session as well, or it's just the recording?
So the course will open up master classes, which I have taken myself on these modules, 4 modules of ULB and 4 of ULC. ULC will open up to you after you complete ULB. So when you take this combo package, you will start with ULB, complete that. You will get a certificate after ULB completion, after a short assessment, and then you move into ULC the next day. So there are live sessions that happen every week, which I conduct only for these participants, for you all, on Wednesdays. Like I said, that's where we ask questions. Yeah, these are internal webinars for the participants, where we use it for Q&A, and we also talk about various other aspects of leadership and continue learning, like how we do on Saturdays. But that's more detailed. Yeah, we go much deeper into some real leadership issues and build skill set.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I would like to understand once again on the courses and then take a call. Of course, Weber, please go through the website. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on my email address, yukti@sbyacademy.in. I'm just typing this out as well. Yukti@SBY, silhouette by Yukti, academy.in. So that's my website. That's my email address. Please feel free to write to me on any questions at all. I'll be happy to address, and maybe we can connect on call and take that further. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I hope you're taking away a lot of things from this session. And I wish to see you again next Saturday with another interesting topic on leadership. Till then, enjoy your weekend and the week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.